The role of postmodernism in enhancing Peruvian culture. Peruvian DNA, a new heritage. The concept of Peruvian DNA refers to the unique cultural and historical identity of Peru and its people, as influenced by various factors such as ancestral traditions, colonial history, migration, political crisis, internal war, globalization, and the effects of postmodernism. The 1980s marked a tumultuous period in the history of Peru, characterized by complex political and economic instability and social challenges. This decade witnessed the rise of internal conflict and social upheaval. In addition to economic challenges, Peru was confronted with the emergence of the Sendero Luminoso, a radical Maoist guerrilla group, and the Tupac Amaru Revolutionary Movement, MRTA. The ensuing violence and acts of terrorism unleashed by these groups further destabilized the country, leading to a prolonged internal conflict that would last for nearly 2 decades. It is estimated that 70,000 Peruvians died during the terrorist peak, according to LUM, the place of memory and social inclusion.
The 1980s witnessed diverse responses and reactions from various sectors of society. Civil society organizations, human rights activists, artists, and intellectuals played significant roles in highlighting human rights abuses and advocating for justice and social change. The cultural landscape also experienced a profound transformation. New artists, designers, writers, and musicians responded to the social and political realities of the time, using their creative expressions to critique the status quo, the role of the state, corruption, speaking openly, and showing the differences and social inequalities.
The National School of Fine Arts had been closed, and a group of students had moved to a large house in Barranco, with other students from the Catholic University. They formed a workshop that would eventually give rise to the EPS Hueco Collective. In May 1980, they mounted an exhibition at the Forum Gallery called Arte al Paso, a staging that was above all a catharsis and a questioning of the Lima cultural establishment. The exhibition was presided over by a vast salcapapas, a typical street plate of wieners with fries, the urban popular fast food of the moment, made up of more than 10,000 cans of evaporated milk distributed around almost the entire perimeter of the gallery. The walls were covered with 5 screen prints of pop aesthetics and 6 quotes on the social theory of art. A whole mix that was both a manifesto and a provocation. Screams of freedom.
Promoting cultural diversity. One of the centers of this decade is the celebration of diversity and recognizing that there are multiple valid perspectives and experiences. Postmodernism has played a role in acknowledging and valuing the rich ancestral heritage and diverse ethnic groups present in the country. This has increased efforts to preserve indigenous languages like Quechua and Aymara rap, traditions, and cultural practices like music and dance, promoting a more inclusive and multicultural society. It is there where the Chicha culture was born. Chicha culture is the name given to a fusion of many different styles, a product of the history and diversity of Peruvian cultures. It is today a powerful movement. The origin is the Great Migration from the province to Lima, from the terrorist attacks in Andean cities. The Chicha culture, rejected by some and praised by others, today represents the remarkable convergence of cultures that coexist in Lima. This culture, moreover, is the tremendous impulse that represents the great entrepreneurs of our days.
The reinterpretation of cultural heritage extended to the cuisine. Peruvian cuisine should have conquered the world 50 or 80 years ago, according to Gaston Acurio, one of the most influencers of Peruvian gastronomy. However, it did not happen because Peruvians were emotionally and mentally colonized. The cook recalled that the Peruvian elite dreamed of Europe and that, until recently, the foreign prevailed over the native. The kitchen is emancipating us. It is possible to change from the kitchen, to be liberated, and to recognize ourselves as Peruvians, he said, highlighting the marvelous miscegenation that characterizes Peru and whose virtuous fruits can be savored in each of our dishes. The first cries of freedom, Acurio Dixit, began to be heard in the 1980s in the voice of pioneers such as Bernardo Roca Rey, Cucho La Rosa, and Isabel Alvarez. Thanks to them, a high-value Peruvian brand called Peruvian cuisine is being sold. We had to invent a market in the world, a prestige, and to achieve this, the union was essential. Going back to 1980 leads us to remember a society in crisis, at a time when the country was returning to democracy after 12 years of military rule, with national strikes and an outbreak of terrorist violence. It hurts and is moving to look back and remember how an armed crisis took over our childhood and youth. We lost parents, children, siblings, relatives, and friends and will carry them forever. Peru is more significant than its problems. We are reborn from the strongest rubble, rebuilding ourselves with hope and creativity. We all have wounds that cannot be seen at a glance. Some will stay with us forever like marks of war, and that shine to remind us of what we are made of. This paper started as a project and ended as a tribute to their people.